episode 13 of Unbashful. Welcome back, everybody. As always, I'm your host, Nicholas Doucette, and sitting to the right of me, I got my good friend of mine from high school, Noah Webb.
What's going on? Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for giving your time, and we're going to talk about some cool stuff. We're going to talk a lot about Tesla and climate change and, you know, Elon Musk and Tom Cruise shooting a movie in space, and we're going to talk about all that stuff.
All that good stuff.
And some other little fun things along the way. So let's get right into it. First of all, so I didn't actually ask you after we saw each other at the movie theater, how'd you feel about Eternals?
Eternals was good. I think it was actually better than I expected. I went into it thinking it was going to be a lot, because having a movie with so many, you know, characters that need to be kind of introduced and fleshed out with an audience, it almost seems overwhelming. And in the trailers, that's how I came out of the trailers feeling, is that it was going to be overwhelming to learn about all those characters. But they did a better job than I kind of expected they would, and I enjoyed it. It was easy to follow. It was fun. You know, Marvel movies have like a specific kind of funny. You know, they make the same sort of like jokes that it's not like you're falling off your seat laughing, but you know, it's like puts a smile on your face. So it's good to be back in movie theaters, seeing Marvel movies again. Shang-Chi was good. I'm excited to see Spider-Man. Obviously, I know you and Shezwin talked about it.
We tried to get tickets yesterday and we couldn't.
Yeah, they're on sale at noon today. So. Just now, 2 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. So okay.
Not sold out by the time we're done this.
Fuck. Hopefully not. I mean,
yeah.
Probably. No, I kind of share your feelings as well. Overall, I did really enjoy it. I feel like we're kind of like the only people that enjoy this film, because most people I've talked to said it's either like, you know, mid, or it's kind of just like a 6 out of 10. But for me personally, I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
I say it's like my favorite Marvel movie ever.
Oh yeah, same.
But you know, I think Shang-Chi was still better, in my opinion. I liked the action in that movie. I thought it was good. But I didn't really know what to expect from Eternals, and I didn't know exactly where the story was going. And so, you know, the movie kind of kept me guessing all the way through. And when you don't know how a movie's going to go, it's a little more exciting, right?
Going in with that uncertainty.
Yeah, as we're in some movies, I always feel like, okay, you kind of know how this is going to end. And in this, I really didn't. So the uncertainty and how they, you know, introduced all the characters and played it out, I thought it was good.
Yeah, that's always like a daunting task. I feel like with these big, you know, grandiose films, and they have like 20 or 30, you know, main cast members, not just like extras. It's really kind of tough to give everybody the screen time they need to develop their character, but I think they handled it pretty well.
Yeah, especially in a movie, like I said, where, you know, Avengers, you're introduced to all these characters. We've grown up with these characters. And so you kind of already know the characters. They don't have to do the job of introducing them.
It's like a plug and play.
Right. You know what to expect from those guys. But in a movie where you haven't, unless you read the comic books, you haven't been introduced to these characters, then, you know, it's a bigger job to do in not only, you know, making a good film, but making a good film and having the audience understand who the film's about, and, you know, letting the audience get a connection to those characters, because, you know, the more connected you are to a character, the more
you're going to care about them.
The more engaged you're going to be, the more you're going to care about the movie, and
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to see what they do with the sequel. I forgot to ask you, are you still in school?
Yeah, actually, I was in college at Algonquin in Ottawa.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that, yeah.
I decided to drop out. Which immediately when you say you're going to drop out, it's like, oh, why?
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
Nothing wrong with it. But what I did was I just didn't really like the program I was in. I was in a marketing program.
That's exactly what I'm in right now.
And, you know, when I finished high school, I actually wanted to do poli-sci. My grades weren't that good in high school. So, you know, that's why I went to college instead. But my grades in college were really good. College was pretty easy for me. So I dropped out of college. I applied to York University for poli-sci. And I got in, so I'm starting in January at York.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats, man.
Yeah, for poli-sci. They gave me a year's worth of credits, so I only have to do 3 years instead of the full 4.
That's not bad, yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at for school right now. A little delayed compared to where most of our friends might be at. Some people I know are graduating university, you know, this year. But I'm working, everything, you know, life. Everybody has their own path.
Exactly, man. Like, at the end of the day, the last thing I think people should do is, you know... No, I'm not saying you're doing this, but, like, you know, looking at other people's, trajectory of where they're at. Because I mean, like you just mentioned, some people end up, reaching great heights of success in their late 20s. Some people, prematurely when they're like 18, and some people not even until they're like 50. So
comparing yourself to other people is not always the best way to do it. I mean,
it's a natural thing we do as human beings, but it's something.
As long as you're comfortable with the path you're on, and like you trust that, you're confident in what you're doing, and you're okay with it. If it makes you happy, then
fuck it, man. Who else? Exactly. Like, what else is somebody gonna say to you that's really gonna? If you're, like you said, if you're confident in yourself and your abilities and your capabilities as a human being, then you could bet on, I'm going to give myself time. I'm going to give myself some, time to focus and reevaluate. But I know that I'm capable of accomplishing good things. Yeah. So
no matter how you get there.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of transition here now to, I got some questions about Elon Musk. Okay, I'm going to ask you. Love Elon. So what are your thoughts on this brain chip that he's developing? I don't know if I'm sure you've heard about that.
Of course, Neuralink. I think it's pretty cool. I think it opens up a lot of different interesting questions when it comes to, ethics of merging AI with actual, human brains. Mm-hmm. And I also think Neuralink could be really helpful in helping a lot of people, specifically who have, issues with motor functions. And I think that's going to be one of their earliest goals with Neuralink, is to basically, help people who have different diseases, who can't really interface with technology the same way you and I can, right? We can use our hands, we pick up our phone.
That's a very interesting approach.
On our phone. So I think what Neuralink's going to focus on right out of the gate after they're done, animal testing, is basically give people a way to control devices without using their hands. So literally, you'll be on your phone and you'll just think like, I want to open Twitter, and just thinking about it, Twitter will open. Or, I want to send a message or call this person. And so that will literally, enable such great things for people who have disabilities. And then I think maybe further down the road, hopefully there's some sort of application to do with, diseases that kind of eat away at your memory. So like Alzheimer's and dementia. I know, like for me personally, my grandfather is suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, and it's like terrible disease. Yeah, it's really terrible disease, and so many people struggle with it. So if there was some sort of way to, help those people, because right now there's not really, like, once you get it, it's kind of like a spiral staircase, can't really get out of it. But so I think Neuralink is good for helping people with different issues, neurological issues or other issues. And then I think we're still a long ways away from seeing it used in applications for, making someone super smart or doing stuff like that. Elon's joked a couple times that, like, you'll be able to summon your Tesla using your brain. You'll just think, "Hey Tesla, come here," and you just look at
the driveway, and it just pulls up. And
exactly. So I think they joke about stuff like that, and it'll happen eventually, maybe like 20 years from now. But I think the earliest applications are just going to be, again, interfacing with devices and making it easy for people who can't normally do that to do that.
That's a very interesting approach, because I didn't consider that at all. The immediate thing that I thought of, to be honest, I thought it was kind of scary, to be honest. But that approach that you took of people that can't interact with technology, like you mentioned, as well as we can, that'll really be beneficiary to them. And I think that's a really good take.
Yeah, it's not only that too. You have to realize that for people, like for able-bodied people and people who don't have disabilities, it's really easy for us to, contribute to society and like build great things and learn all this stuff. But for people who have disabilities, sometimes, they are stopped from having those same opportunities. So if you give those people the same, technology and the same tools that we have, then you're basically opening up all these people who could, create, become an engineer, become, a scientist, help solve the issues that we need solved. So it's pretty important to open those doors to people who for they're currently closed, kind of. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's very convenient, because it's at that point it's just you and your mind, right? So that's pretty much all you would use to interact with this brain chip. I actually want to read this quote here. This comes from Sissy CC Cow. I really apologize if I butchered the pronunciation. And that comes from Observer. This is about Elon Musk's brain chip. Elon Musk has rounded up his old friends from PayPal and OpenAI days to fund his brain-computer interface startup Neuralink's, like you mentioned, next phase of experiments to start implementable brain chips in humans and take the company's first product to market. So that kind of just gives a little overview of what's...
Yeah, that's basically right now where they're at the stage where they're testing safely, obviously, on animals. So, they've kind of showed off a monkey playing Pong, if you know the old game. So literally what they did was they had a tube feeding it a banana smoothie, and if the ball, the Pong ball, if it hit the paddle, and the monkey was just using his brain to control the paddle, right, thinking whether he wanted it to go left or right. So if the ball hit the paddle, then banana smoothie would come out, and then if it didn't hit the paddle, the banana smoothie would stop. So they trained this monkey to play Pong using just his brain, and all of this right now is just kind of proof that they can actually get it to work. I think they did an experiment with pigs as well. I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, like I said, this is like the earliest steps of proof of concept, showing it works, and then slowly getting to a point where they can begin testing on humans once it's been verified as being safe and not damaging the monkeys or the different animals they've been testing it on.
It's not harmful to them.
Exactly, and I think they've tried removing things as well. So they're kind of showing like, hey, look, we can put this in, we can remove it. There's no ill effects, and this is what it's capable of doing, right? Because if a monkey can control a Pong paddle, then a human can control a phone, right? They can make an application that lets you interface with a phone, interface with a computer, and again opens those doors for people who currently maybe don't have those same opportunities that we do. Yeah.
So I just want to be clear, when you were explaining that story with the monkey, was that like a beta product that they actually had in its brain?
Yeah,
or
they actually had it in its brain.
Okay.
So if you go on YouTube and just search up Neuralink monkey, I'm sure it'll come up.
I'm gonna check that out actually.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty mind blowing to see. He's literally just sitting there on a chair. This monkey sitting there on a chair with the straw in his mouth for the banana smoothie, and you just see the Pong paddle moving along. And so he has
that's really cool
in his brain. Actually, no. What they do is they show three things. So first, they show him using a controller. Right? They taught him how to do it with a controller, and then what they did was they unplugged the controller and just made it so that his hand was still holding the remote, right? The monkey was still using the joystick to move it left and right, but the remote was unplugged. So it was just his brain thinking about, I want to go left or right, and the signals from his brain were sending into the Neuralink and, interfacing with the program, and it's like...
That's really cool.
It's mind-blowing stuff.
Like I said, it's kind of scary, but I think there's also a lot of really cool potential that they could tap into with that. Yeah,
there's definitely going to have to be like laws and things in place to...
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
To kind of really set out what companies and what people can and can't do with your brain data or with your thoughts. Like, you know what I mean? Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook is Instagram, but Facebook and all these companies have so much data on us already just through, tracking what we do on our phone, our computer. But imagine if they could actually track what you're thinking about and everything your mind thinks about. I think
that sounds like a plot to a movie.
Literally, it opens up some dangerous things. But I think Neuralink I think Elon is responsible, and he's even said he's like, AI is probably like the biggest threat to one of the biggest threats to humanity. And I think of all the people I'd want doing it, I'm not sure how I'd feel if Zuck was the one at the helm of this. But Elon, I mean, everyone has their own opinion on Elon. He's a divisive figure, but for me, I think he's responsible, and
of course, anybody at that with that power and that influence, there's always going to be divisive feelings on the community. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty excited for that, and like you said, it's probably not going to happen for a long time, like 20 years.
I think
until it's fully like available for everybody.
Before people who don't need it for medical reasons, I think probably within 5 years we'll probably see it like humans interfacing with devices for people who need that help, like in beta. But yeah, we're a ways away from the crazier sci-fi movie type stuff that might come to people's minds.
We're like making like cars levitate and stuff.
Yeah, no, maybe not that far from that. We'll see. That's sooner and later.
So when you got your car, because obviously you have a Tesla.
Yeah, I have a Model 3, yeah.
First of all, when did you get that exactly?
So I got it about, when was it, July of last year, so was that 16 months ago, 16 months ago?
Yeah, yes. So like a year and a bit.
A year and a half, roughly, a year and a quarter. Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome car. I love it.
What was like the first thing? What was the immediate thing that stood out to you the most? Whether it was like in the exterior or the interior, what was like the first thing?
So I think that a lot of people, when people talk about Tesla, they think about an electric car. They think about the environment, and all of that's important. And people definitely care about the environment and want to be more environmentally conscious. But for me, getting a Tesla wasn't about the environment as much as it was about getting a car that is built around a software experience that you're kind of used to in your phone, right? So a traditional car, maybe you'll have Apple CarPlay in it, or maybe you'll have some sort of BMW operating system, or some in-house operating system that any car company's made. But Tesla's software stands out from the rest.
It's one in one. Yeah.
It is. It's literally like using your phone. Basically, it's like if Apple made a car, and
which I think they will be.
I think they're gonna get there, and I think it's like if Apple made a car and they had Apple software powering the whole experience of ownership, and that's not just like when you're driving and infotainment, but that's like when you have to service the car, when you have to do something from the Tesla app, like everything about the experience of owning a Tesla is merged with their software, and their software is fantastic. So the thing that's going to obviously stand out to me most is that, and that's why, like, when people ask me, what do you think about this electric car startup, Rivian or Lucid, or all these different cars that are kind of coming to market, some of them I think are really cool. Like, there's a lot of interesting electric vehicles coming to market, but for me, Tesla is still way ahead of all of these companies in terms of software, where everyone else seems to kind of be content leaving, the software experience to Apple. They're like, hey, just plug in your iPhone and, use Apple CarPlay. Tesla's not content with that. They actually want to build their own software that is made for their cars that is better than just some, plug and play solution that all the other automakers are offering. So electric vehicles are exciting, Tesla's exciting, but what excites me most about Tesla and why I would buy a Tesla again over another EV is the software experience.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying, and I feel like Tesla's sort of become like the pioneer. They're sort of blazing that trail, and we're seeing other car companies, I feel like, they're definitely taking influence for them. I could be wrong, I don't know too much about cars, obviously, but from 100%. My perspective at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the new startups that are coming out, Lucid and Rivian, I mean, their infotainment system and their software in their car is, Tesla has set the standard for software experience in a vehicle. Because before Tesla, there was no focus on that. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, you had stuff, like technically there was an infotainment system in your, 2015 Dodge Ram or whatever you had, but it's nothing compared to what Tesla has and what they've been able to build, and it just makes owning the vehicle and driving the vehicle on a daily basis so much better, right? Like the fact that I can set a Siri shortcut so that when I say good morning Siri on my HomePod, my car warms up. And
are you serious?
Yeah, like
that's so cool.
These are software experiences that Tesla's built into their cars that make owning it so much better. Things like being able to watch Netflix and YouTube in your car, being able to play games in your car, and just even having a UI that is smooth. Like, I'm sure everyone, if you've ever driven in a car that has like an entertainment system, you press something and it's like slow. You press it and it's like, it's not the same responsiveness you'd get from like an iPhone.
Yeah.
But Tesla has that. They have that responsiveness that you'd get from an iPhone. And that's one of the things that people don't realize. Like, right now Tesla doesn't even use that to its full advantage. But in the future, like, my car gets software updates. So the same way that your iPhone gets an update, my car gets an update, and it makes it so that the car doesn't become obsolete because it's built around software, and because it's getting updates, the car just keeps getting better. Just like, if I have a 2018 Tesla and someone has a 2022 Tesla, they're built around the same software, and because we're both getting the same updates, it's the same car essentially, right? Like little things here and there change. Maybe they change something in the interior. They, change a part, make something a little better. They do a great job at iterating and making the vehicles better all the time. But because it's built around software and everybody gets those software updates for free, you have this car that kind of keeps getting better over the lifetime of the vehicle. And it's like, that's one of the things that make me, hesitant to buy another car. If you took, you buy a BMW in 2018 and then 2 or 3 years later, you go back to the dealership and you say, hey, I noticed that 2022 BMW has this feature or that feature. Could I get that? They're going to laugh at you. They're going to be like, yeah, sure. You want to trade up for the new 2022 BMW?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, no, I just want the features. You'd be like, yeah, that's not how it works. But in my car, that is how it works. Like, they update something and I get the update.
That's great for the consumer because if you, like you said, if you get a Tesla, let's say in like 2016,
yeah,
and let's say it's 2020, you still haven't got the new one, but you're still getting the same updates as the newest one, you don't feel like you're suffering and you're not feeling, pressure to immediately get like the next vehicle that comes out. You could, you could wait a couple of years. That's just my cat. You could wait a couple of years, but I think that's very great for the consumer, just because they're not going to be constantly like lagging behind.
They're not lagging behind, and there's not this huge pressure to, buy a new car. In a traditional dealership model, you have this, you have the OEM, the actual manufacturer, Ford or Chrysler or GM, and they build the cars and they sell them to dealerships, and the dealership's sole job is to sell you a car. And so, the dealership is going to do things to incentivize you to buy that new car. Hey, your warranty is running out, or, they're going to charge you all this maintenance, and the car doesn't get better. And, the car's kind of built like that from the top down. Ford doesn't want to build a car that gets better over time, because then they're not going to sell that car to a dealership, and that dealership's not going to have cars that, that dealership's not going to be able to sell cars. Like, it's kind of the way it's been built from the top down, as where Tesla doesn't have dealerships, right? They don't have like this middleman that they have to kind of satisfy. So they're selling cars directly from themselves as the manufacturer. All of their Tesla dealerships, quote unquote, are actually showrooms, right? They're owned by Tesla. There's no middleman. And what that kind of does is it
probably saves them money.
Yeah, it saves them money, and it creates this like super low pressure environment, not just for Tesla to force people to buy another car, but for you as the consumer. Like, if you go to test drive a Tesla, and I did this the other day with a friend of mine, you show up, they say, hey, do you have any questions about the car? No? All right, here's the key. Be back in half an hour. Enjoy. And comparing that to a traditional automotive dealership, you go to Ford, you want to test drive a car, and they're like, all right, let's talk about it first. I'll, talk to you about the car for 30, 40 minutes. And sometimes maybe you want that introduction. Tesla will give you that too, if that's what you want. But then when you come back from the test drive at Tesla, the question is, do you have any questions about the car? Yes, no. If we can answer those questions, 100% they'll help you with that. And then that's it. If you want to order the car, you can go online and order. If you don't, hey, we're happy you came out and test drove. And we are sure you'll order one in the future, because once you drive a Tesla, it's a pretty like mind-blowing experience, and most people love it. And then at Ford, you test drive a car, you come back, and they're like, hey, come into my office so we can negotiate pricing, and I can, talk to you about financing and this and that. And it's like, it's such a, different experience. You're negotiating on price, you're doing all this because there's this middleman whose job is solely to try and like upsell you on warranty, on accessories, on all
it's just this. The retailer, yeah.
Right? That's their only job. Tesla doesn't have that. It's just the manufacturer selling you a car at the price they set, no negotiating, no nonsense, no extended warranty, no, get this package or this package, none of that. It's just, you buy the car, it shows up, it's yours, that's it.
It's just cutthroat, just right to the point.
Yeah, it's right to the point, and there's just no pressure. Like I said, the friend I went to test drive with, he didn't end up buying a car. He more just wanted to, get the experience of seeing what it was like. And he agreed, like, there's just no comparison. Because we also went to Ford and test drove the Mach-E, which is Ford's electric Mustang. Mustang, I say in air quotes, because it's an SUV, not a traditional, like, Mustang that people expect. But, again, at Ford, that Ford dealership has called my friend maybe 15 times, following up about purchasing the car and like, hey, come talk to us. Tesla hasn't followed up once. Maybe they sent him an email, like automated, saying, we hope you enjoyed your experience.
They're not like harassing him.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's no calls from someone being like, hey, are you still interested in getting that? Because if someone wants to buy your car, they're going to buy it. You don't need that, that extreme pressure on people. And Tesla sells every car that they make. So there's no like need for Tesla to do all this advertising and to, harass people and try and convince them. If you order a Tesla today, you're not going to get it for, minimum 3 months, maybe, depending on what model, maybe 8 months to a year. Like, there's a huge backlog of orders. They can't satisfy the demand. So it just makes for a way better experience. I could just go on forever. You know what I mean?
Hey,
just
man.
all around, like, it's...
We still got a lot more to talk about, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as a customer, if you're going straight to Tesla, it probably feels a little more personal, too, rather than just going to some... dealership on the side of the road. Yeah, no, I mean, in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. I think that the actual advantage of having dealerships is that, it's your local guy, it's Tom's Ford. And That's
Tom
true.
is sitting there at the local dealership. Tom's been a staple in the community for, 25 years. He's sponsored the Little League hockey team. He's... That
is true.
Sold your dad his car, and now he's selling your son the first car, right?
There's that brand loyalty between you. So
there's that sort of brand loyalty that's been built up between you and Tom, not just the manufacturer, because with Tesla there's a little less of that communication even, right? You place an order for the car, they send you a text a week before it gets here, hey, this is when you can come pick it up. You go to pick it up, you sign a paper, and it's done. The whole process, like from ordering to picking it up, besides the wait in between, the whole process probably takes like half an hour. Like, it's so easy.
It's very convenient.
But you kind of lose some of that personal touch in a way. It's just like it just depends on the person, I guess. Like, for me, I don't need to be best friends with my car dealer.
Neither do I.
Right? Not to say that the guys at Tesla aren't great. Like, I know a bunch of guys who work for Tesla. They're awesome. They do a great job, like, helping people, making the experience good. But yeah, it's a little different than your traditional automotive dealership for the good and the bad. If you really love that personal touch, and maybe you won't get as much of that with Tesla, but the ease of purchasing the car, the lack of having to go back and service it all the time, the lack of pressure on you to like spend money at this dealership or to anything like that, I think those are all benefits. It's a whole different thing.
I love going on their website. Like, obviously I don't have a Tesla, but I'll get bored.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I'll, like in the past I'll be at work and like I'll be on my break and I got nothing else to do and I'll literally just go on. It's kind of like how people will go on Foot Locker and, make like mock shoes and get like, their different colorways and stuff. Yeah. I'll do that for the Tesla. I'll see what the matte black looks like or I'll see what the red looks like.
I'm guilty of it too. I mean, I go on their website all the time. I'm like,
their engagement on their website is probably fucking insane. Just for that, like, alone, like for just
people
goofing around
on their website every day and just like dream a little bit. And that was before I got my car, right? I would go on and I'd like make a car and be like, oh.
And it was probably so satisfying the day you're like, oh, it's a reality.
Happening. Yeah, so definitely ordering a Tesla, the whole experience is different than a regular car. It's satisfying to go on the website and build it and do all of that stuff. And it's cool how it's built through software. Again, like from the moment you order to the moment you take delivery, right? Like you place an order, then you download the Tesla app, and that car is in the app, right? That car that you order is in the app. So it shows like, hey, your car's being built. It'll arrive to you on like December 11th or just like a range December 11th to 20th or something, right? So you kind of have that app right from day one. And there's some videos like it shows you, here's your car, here's what it's going to look like. And then, here's how to use this feature, here's how to use that feature. It kind of breaks it all down for you in the app. But yeah, I think it's an awesome experience. In some locales, they do like home delivery, so like literally you order a car and they'll deliver it right to your house. You don't even have to go pick it up.
That's pretty convenient.
Yeah, and the service experience with Tesla too, it's like, so I'll give you an idea. I've driven 60,000 kilometers on my car in the 16 months I've had it. I love driving it. I drive it a ton, more than I would have driven any other car. The only thing I've had to do in 60,000 kilometers is windshield washer fluid.
That's it.
That's it.
That's incredible.
A bottle of windshield washer fluid, right? So the service is like that. There's very little. You don't have to do brakes really because
it's very dependable.
Yeah, it's super dependable. There's just less moving parts. You know, when you have an engine, when you have all the moving parts that are in a ICE internal combustion engine vehicle, there's just so much that could go wrong. And in a way, like they're kind of built with that in mind again, because you have this automaker that has to have this middleman make money. And the middleman doesn't just make money off the sale of the car, they make money off all the service. So when things break down, well, that's kind of helpful to the middleman.
There's that opportunity for them, like, hey, we have another big idea.
But for Tesla, they actually, like, they stated this on the last earnings call. I remember, like, the best service is no service. Like, they do not want you to have to come for service because they don't want to have to. They don't want to have to, you know, build more service centers. They don't want to have to do all of this stuff. So most of the stuff that gets done for service is done mobile. So the only other thing I did in my car is I changed out the air filters. Because, you know, you're driving a lot, the, like, cabin air filters get dirty, you know, and...
I did that on my last oil change.
Yeah, right? So you change out the air filters every once in a while. But instead of me going to Tesla, I literally went on the app, I said I want to change my air filters out, and then 2 days later, they came to my driveway, and they did it at my house. They rotated my tires, and...
Oh, they came to you?
They came to you.
Oh, wow.
So they can either go to your work, they can go to your house, like, whatever's most convenient for you. But, you know, not having to, like, go and sit there and... have them tell you, oh, yeah, like, you're gonna
talk to reception, you know, drink a coffee there, wait a couple hours or whatever.
It's just like a whole process, right? It's not, it's not convenient at the old model. And again, it's built not to be convenient because they want you to come there. They want you to look at other cars. They want you to do all of that stuff. Tesla, they don't want you to do that. They want you to get your car and, like, enjoy it. And that's it, right? So it's a different ballgame altogether.
So you said you had your car for about 16 months now, right?
Yeah. So
through that time, what has been your favorite overall feature? If you could only pick one thing.
Feature. Okay, so my car has what's called full self-driving. It's an option that you can buy on the car. Full self-driving is a little bit of a confusing term, I'll be honest, because, you know, when someone says full self-driving, you would think, like, my car drives from the driveway to the place I'm going on its own. It doesn't quite do that yet. As I kind of said before, it gets better all the time with updates, but full self-driving, like what you would think of when you hear that, it's not there yet. It's coming, but it's not there yet. What I have in my car with full self-driving is something called Navigate on Autopilot. And so what that does is it basically, from highway on-ramp to highway off-ramp, it navigates to your destination for you. So, you know, I get on the highway, I work in Mississauga, I live in Pickering. I get on the highway at Whites Road in Pickering, and I get off at Mississauga Road, and because the car knows where I'm going, I put in the address. The entire way, all I do is I set my speed. So let's say I want to go, 120. Set my speed, and the car drives. It'll go from the collectors to the express, back over to the collectors. If it needs to go onto the 407, do whatever it needs to do. It'll do all of that on the highway without input from you. All you have to do is pay attention and keep your hand on the wheel, and the car does everything. So for me, going from, I used to drive like a 2004 Toyota, and going from a 2004 Toyota doing that drive where you're like, hands on the wheel, like looking over your shoulder, being like fully attentive, like paying full attention, it's stressful to drive. And so to be able to kind of not pay attention, not be on your phone, but just to kind of sit back and still watch the road, but to just monitor and not actively do everything is so relaxing, and it takes so much stress off you. Like driving an hour each way for work is a lot, and so
that's a commute. Actually, that makes sense, Mississauga.
Right. It is, and I'd say it's even more depending on the time. Like on the way home at night, it's usually not as bad, but in the morning or in the afternoon when I'm going, because I work the night shift, it's like I leave at 2:30 to get there for 4. So it's almost an hour and a half depending on the traffic. And again, just being able to sit there and let your car do most of the driving for you is like...
That's very convenient.
Oh, it's just the most convenient thing. And it's, again, like you don't realize how stressful driving is until you don't have to do it anymore. And so when I drive someone else's car for whatever reason, and I hate driving other people's cars now because
you would not like driving my car.
No, right. Like when I drive someone else's
my
car,
car's
I'm
piece
like,
of
oh
crap.
my God, I have to do so much to drive. As for when I drive my car, it's just like I'm sitting there and the car's like, it puts on the turn signal and I kind of just glance to make sure there's nothing there.
Yeah.
The car sees it anyway.
Peek the blind spot.
Right.
Yeah.
I still check because again, you're still responsible. You're still in control of the vehicle. If the car does something that isn't right, I take over. I put my foot on the brake. I take over. And you have that ability to take over at any time. And it's your responsibility to take over if the car does something wrong, right? Tesla doesn't have responsibility. It's autonomous driving assistance, right? It's like driver assistance features, not full driving. But it pretty much fully drives. So, you just have to monitor, but it takes so much stress off of you. But when you're on your daily commute, it's just really great to not have to drive with your full attentiveness. And so I'd say that's definitely the best feature. It's a little expensive, I'll be honest. Like full self-driving, if you add that to your Tesla, it's $10,600.
Damn.
Which is super expensive. And honestly, in some ways, it's unnecessary. You don't need full self-driving. What people don't know is that every single Tesla comes standard with Autopilot. And what Autopilot does is it drives for you in your lane. So it won't change lanes for you. It won't
turn or anything like that.
Turn left or right. It won't take highway on and off ramps. But it'll stay in your lane for you. So, if you're driving in the second left lane on the highway, you're cruising along, you put it in autopilot, and the car's still driving for you in your lane, it just won't do those extra things. But for $10,000, it's a hard sell. And unless you're driving a lot and you have a very long commute and you really, really value it, it's almost like an investment in a way where, like, if you think that Tesla is going to achieve actual full autonomy, like meaning I don't have to be in my car and my car can drive from one place to another. I personally think Tesla's going to achieve that.
I do too.
And my car has all the hardware necessary to do it. So it has all the cameras, it has all the sensors. All it needs is better software. And those software updates keep coming. So in the US, there's something called full self-driving beta. And what full self-driving beta is it's full self-driving on city streets. So literally, it's more of what you'd think about. From your driveway to where you're going, the car does everything. It does left and right-hand turns on city streets. It does everything. And I got to drive in that with a friend's car. He came from the US, and it worked perfectly fine in Canada. We were driving downtown in the middle of the night in a construction area, and the car did fantastic.
That's a great way to test it out in an area where there's like a lot of commotion going on.
It wasn't good conditions at all, right? Night, it was dark, it was raining, like it wasn't good conditions, and the car did fantastic. So for me seeing that, I'm like, okay, are we going to get full self-driving like I'm saying, where you're not in the car tomorrow? No. Are we going to get full self-driving in like 4 years? I am of the opinion that yes, it could happen.
Over under 50%. Within the next 5 years.
I would say the likelihood of it being achieved by Tesla is over 50%. The likelihood of it being approved by regulators
is under 50%. I forgot about that.
Because there's two things here, right? There's actually achieving it, which maybe we're even closer than 5 years, right? Like I know people now who are testing full self-driving beta who they'll go on a drive where they don't have to do anything. They just sit there, the car does everything. Like, again, a major intersection, a left turn, unprotected left. Like that is, for a car to do that on its own.
That's very daunting.
Is so crazy to think about. And the fact that it couldn't do it when I got my car, or when these people got their car, couldn't do it, and then they just got an update and it can, it's even crazier. But there's another level, right? The next level is Tesla actually takes responsibility, and you don't have to be in the car, or you don't have to be paying attention. You can like be in the back seat. So I think we'll get to a point where the car can actually do this stuff within 4 years. I would say like I'm like 80-90% sure, but I'm not sure if we'll be at a point within 4 years, 5 years that Tesla takes liability and governments allow for it. That's the kind of space we're at.
I think what's going to be the scariest, but also the cool thing for me is like going on ramps, like you mentioned. Like, you know how some of those on ramps are very steep and they're very wide. That's going to be intimidating when if I ever do get that opportunity to drive in like a full self-driving vehicle, like just like letting go, sitting back, and letting it just take me on the on ramp.
We should go for a drive, honestly.
Yeah, well, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't come here. I was hoping I'd get a little introduction.
We should go for a drive, but it's like, yeah, because it can already do that, right? Like on ramps on the highway can do, and stuff on the roads. Like I said, like seeing it do left and right hand turns at a busy intersection, where I would be like, my neck's craning over, trying to look and see is there a car coming. The fact that the car can do that is just mind blowing, right? And
have there been any like accidents like that?
Yeah, so there's been a few accidents. Not on the new software. So this full self-driving beta is basically a complete rewriting of the software. In the old software, the software that I have in my car, and everyone in Canada has, they use a combination of radar and cameras and sensors, like ultrasonic distance sensors, which are on lots of cars. The new software is purely vision based. So even if cars have radar in them, they're no longer using the radar. They're only using vision. And so basically the thought is that you and me have eyes, and all the people who drive have eyes, and we don't have any special sensors to, discern I am 50 meters from that car. We just use our eyes. So Tesla thinks to themselves, well, okay, if humans can use their eyes, then we can train a neural network to, use their own eyes, which are these cameras. And they don't only have 2 cameras, they have, I think, 4 in the front, 2 on each side, and 1 in the back. So you're talking about like, what is that? 10 cameras, 11 cameras, something like that.
So it basically covers all angles of the vehicle.
Car. So the car is feeding all that into like this neural network, and that's how it's driving. But the good thing about this neural network is that the system is going to keep on getting better. And this is one of the big advantages that Tesla has, is that they have, millions of cars now on the road. I think this year they're going to deliver almost 1 million cars, all of which have these features. Even if you don't buy full self-driving, every single car has those cameras. So Tesla's collecting data from all these places all around the world and feeding it into this brain that can essentially teach the car how to, drive better and better and better. And when you have so much data, it's only a matter of learning how to process it effectively and quickly, because once they do, it's like a superhuman, basically, right? You're going to have this superhuman driver where they have billions of miles, not millions, billions of miles of data, kilometers or miles driven, and that's going to be what's building this brain. And so the computer's going to be able to do things that are superhuman. It's going to be safer. It already is, but it's going to be even better. It's going to be safer than any human driver. The likelihood of an accident is going to be less than, with any human driver. So yeah, I think full self-driving is really cool. It's still a ways out, but it's going to be, it just keeps on getting better. And I mean, it's going to change the world, seriously, because if we get to a point where everybody where all these cars are full self-driving, you're not only talking about, me being able to have my car drive me to work. You're talking about my girlfriend goes to work in the morning, and instead of me driving her to work, the car will drive her to work. And
hey, honey, just hop in the car and
then the car will come back to me, right? So whereas most people in North America, I think, have it's like 1.6, or I think it's like the average household has 1.6 cars. So I guess most households have 2 cars. Close to 2 cars. There's no one.
Basically, on average, yeah.
Right, on average,
like one.
2 cars.
Yeah.
So if you all of a sudden have one car that can drive itself, then you don't need 2 cars. You can just have one car drop that person off, and the other car pick up the other person. Not in all cases, but in some cases.
Yeah.
And then also, so I have full self-driving on my car. If 4 years from now, the government says, okay, this is the best system ever, it's safer, it kills less drivers, it does all that stuff, then my car can all of a sudden drive itself without me in it. It has all the hardware. All it needs is a software update. So my car will get that update. It'll drive itself without me in it. I'm at work for 8 hours. My car can be driving around under the Tesla rideshare network.
Yeah.
They won't use Uber. They'll make their own. And so my car will be driving around for 8 hours while I'm at work, making me money.
passive income. That would actually be so convenient. Like you finish, like you said, like an 8-hour shift, and then you know that your car is just going to be waiting out front for you.
Yeah,
it's like getting an Uber.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be like getting an Uber, but your car's made you money that whole time. It's just, there's so much stuff that, you know, people don't even think about that full self-driving is going to enable. And I think, like, Uber will kind of be a dead business model in a way, because if Tesla doesn't have to pay an actual driver to drive the car, right? Uber has to charge you for the drive, but they're paying, you know, their own company, they're paying themselves, they're paying for the gas mileage, and they're paying for a driver's time.
Don't you think eventually, sorry not to interrupt you, but don't you think eventually Uber could utilize that Tesla feature? Well, for their own service?
Yeah,
or is that like...
Well, Uber would have to make their own, right? Because what Tesla's going to do is they're going to make it so that Tesla... They're going to build their own thing. So instead of downloading Uber, you're going to download the Tesla rideshare network, right? So then...
Oh, like, yeah, like you mentioned
earlier. When you want to get a drive, instead of going on Uber, you'll go on Tesla's app. You'll say, I need a ride from here to here, and a Tesla will come to you.
Oh, okay.
Right? So Uber would have to build their own autonomous vehicle.
Yeah.
Because Tesla's not going to let Uber just use their...
Yeah, yeah. Because right? that would lose them a lot of money.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It wouldn't lose them a lot of money. It just wouldn't... They'll just make so much money off of doing this, right? And I mean, every car on the road, every single Tesla has the capability. So even if you didn't buy full self-driving, you can buy it later, or you can subscribe to it. So like, I paid for full self-driving up front, but if you didn't pay for it up front, you can pay monthly. So let's say you're going on a long road trip 1 month, and you're like, you know, I want to try full self-driving this month. So you're
gonna just pay for that month's order.
You can literally buy it for a month for $300, which is a lot, I know.
Yeah.
But you know, you can buy it for $300 for the month. But long term, let's say you're going on a long drive, and Tesla, you know, because you have the hardware in your car, Tesla could say, you're going on a 100-kilometer drive. Buy full self-driving. Enable full self-driving for this drive for $10.
Damn.
Right? And that is a source of income that no other car company is going to be able to take advantage of. As where Tesla has that option now. And it's not just full self-driving. It's other things, right? Like, let's say the computer in the new Model S and X and the 3 and Y are going to get it as well is an AMD chip and graphics card on par with what's in a PS5.
Damn.
So, you know, Tesla's going to be able to sell, for example, a gaming subscription. So you can pay $50 a month and have access to different gaming titles in your car. And again,
I heard about that.
These aren't things that are turned on right now, but these are things that can be enabled in the future.
Absolutely. I've seen, like, some of the Teslas have... I think I saw yours has this as well. I think I saw it on Matt's story. They have, like, these long, vertical... like tablets almost that you just interact with.
Yeah, no, the entire car is built around software, right? So there's no like, it's just one screen and everything is done through that screen. So there's
no like little area, kind of like my car, where you just like change the temperature of the you know AC or whatever.
Everything is software, right? So and it's the same thing that the Model S and X. So again, it's like because you built your car around software, the possibilities are
endless,
and the revenue streams are endless because you put the hardware and the software in every car. To take advantage of that. So Tesla sells a car today for, you know, $60,000, but the actual lifetime revenue that they might pull in from that customer can be so much greater. Not because they're going to send you to the service shop to do an oil change every 20,000 kilometers and brakes and this and that and all this, you know, crap that breaks, because they're going to actually offer you things that you want. They're going to offer you, you know, full self-driving for your drive. They're going to offer you gaming packages in your car. They're going to offer all these experiences that no other car company can offer. Maybe they will be able to offer those experiences in the future, but the difference is that Tesla's doing it now. They're setting themselves up now so that when they're ready to roll out all that stuff, it won't just be rolling out to the 2025 model, it'll be rolling out to the 2016 through 2025 model. And so they're going to have so much, you know, potential to bring in revenue and bring in revenue for people. Like if that's your mindset, is like you're a shareholder, you want them to bring in revenue. But if you're an owner, a customer, your car's just going to keep getting better. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So obviously I know you're very interested in Elon Musk and Tesla. When did you
think you started to become? Like when did you really get invested in Elon Musk and Tesla?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I would say sometime maybe 2014, 2015, the idea of, you know, an electric car that's quick, that is, you know, like high tech, that was like a crazy idea. And so, you know, the Model S and X came out, and I remember kind of like you were saying, I was always on the Tesla website, like building those cars. I wasn't on like the Ferrari website or the BMW, because like everybody had a Ferrari or BMW, but at the time, Tesla, not everybody had a Ferrari, sorry. But, you know,
I know what you mean, yeah.
Everybody knows those cars, but Tesla was something different, something unique. And so I was always kind of like attracted to that.
There was almost like a scarcity to them at that point. Like you weren't seeing them very often.
You didn't see them on the road. It was just so rare, so different. And so I love that idea. And then in grade 12 for prom, everybody else really was
remember that.
Renting limos, right? So everybody at prom, you know,
you look like a badass, man. I saw you pull up with the with the side doors and all that.
Yeah, so it's like everybody at prom, you know, they're pulling up in limos, everyone's renting a limo, and I was like, I do not want to rent a limo. Like, everybody's doing that. Yeah. I was like, let's rent a Tesla Model X. And for those of you that don't know, that's the SUV with the Falcon wing doors. So
that's what it's called.
Rear doors open like, you know, like Falcon wings. So me and my girlfriend, we went to prom in the Model X, and that was like the first time I had ever gotten to drive one. And yeah, so that was like the first time when I knew for sure, I'm like, okay, this is the coolest thing ever.
I'm renting this now, but at some point, this is going to be mine.
This is going to be my, like, not the Model X. The Model X is super expensive, right? I think it starts at like 130 grand.
Isn't like the ceiling, like, I don't know how to describe it. I've seen pictures. Isn't like the ceiling not like glass?
Yeah. So
but
the
like,
Model X has this massive glass.
Oh, it is glass.
So the entire windshield, from the windshield itself all the way through the roof, it's just one piece of glass, one massive piece of glass. So that's really cool
so
on the Model X. Yeah. And then the Model 3 and Y and the S, they all have something very similar. The Model S3 and Y they have a windshield, and then they have another piece of glass. There's like a separator in between. It's not just one massive piece, but there's a piece of glass here, and then there's a massive panoramic glass roof, they call it. So almost all the cars have that panoramic glass roof, and yeah, that's a really cool feature of the car. But I'd say, yeah, probably like 2015. When did we graduate? No, wait, later.
2018.
Probably like 2018 is when I was like, okay, this is the car. I'm gonna get a Tesla. Like, I told myself, I'm like, my first car is going to be a Tesla. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure it out, and figured it out. So it's good.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was surprised when I saw you get it, just because like you mentioned, nobody our age really has one. I don't think I know anybody that does besides you.
I think, okay, so people think Teslas are super expensive. They're not cheap. I'm not saying like, oh my god, it's just a cheap used Honda Civic.
You can get one for like 30, 40 grand, can't you?
So not quite. Like, okay, so when I bought my car, the price that my car started at was $47,000. And $47,000 is a lot of money. Again, I'm not saying it's cheap, but brand new. $47,000 was the price. And then for me, the thing was, again, I work in Mississauga and I drive from Pickering. So driving the 2004 Toyota Highlander from big, you know, non-efficient SUV, gas guzzler, driving that to and from Mississauga, I was spending, you know, $400 or $500 a month on gas. So I kept asking myself, like, I'd go on the Tesla website, I'd build the car, and I'd be like, okay, the monthly payment for a Tesla Model 3 is, you know, if I put down a few $1,000s, the monthly payment would be like $600. And I'm like, why am I paying $500 a month for gas?
That's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad.
And then, like you said, you're only paying $500 for gas,
yes,
as well as financing. Or I don't know. Did you?
That car was
okay.
Car, right?
But still, I mean, $500 for commuting.
I was paying $500 just for gas to drive an old, crappy car.
And then you could just charge it for the Tesla.
Yeah, right. So then the difference is, so, you know, at the time, and this wasn't when gas was as expensive. Maybe then it was like 90 cents, 87 cents, right? It wasn't as bad. Now gas is even more expensive. So
it's crazy.
Compare gas. Like, I was spending, I think, $80 a tank in the Toyota. Now to charge my Tesla at home, it cost me $4.
Yeah.
In electricity, right? $4. So I'm basically saving. I have an app on my phone that kind of tells me how much I'm saving roughly per, not per charge, but like each month, compared to if I drove. Actually, I have it set to compare to like a Mazda, because because I'm like, okay, a Mazda is a pretty efficient car. It's like 8 miles per, or 8 kilometers. Oh my god, what am I saying? 8 liters per kilometer, something like that, per 100 kilometers. Oh my god, I can't.
It's okay. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but so compared to that, like a Mazda 3, I'm saving roughly, $400 a month.
That's crazy. And the app kind of breaks down the data for you.
Yeah, right. It kind of breaks down that data for you. You just put in what you were spending on gas before, right? So some months, like if I'm driving a lot, $550 here, $365, $321, and that's compared to a Mazda 3. That's not compared to the car I was actually driving, which used way more gas. So again,
so if it's that much of a difference for a car that you don't have compared to the car that you actually do have, it just really puts in perspective how much money.
It's like $500-$600 a month I was spending on gas, and now I'm spending, my average cost to charge every month, because it shows you that too, is roughly $50.
So do you have the charger at home?
Yeah, or so Tesla gives you a charger with the car, right? So
I thought you have to pay for that separately.
Well, there's a couple things. So basically, they give you, with the car, comes with what's called a mobile connector. So the mobile connector is literally like a plug that you can plug into a regular outlet, like a 110 volt outlet that you have in your house, and it'll take like 4 days to charge the car, which isn't ideal.
Yeah. My apologies, you were saying?
Yeah, but what was I saying? I don't remember.
We were talking about the charger.
All right. So the mobile connector that they give you with the car, it comes with a you can basically take out the actual plug part and switch it out to a different kind of plug. So instead of the regular 110 volt outlet that you use at your house, your dryer, like your actual washing machine or dryer at your house, uses a bigger plug called a NEMA 1450, and that's 240 volts. And so that charger, it only costs $45 to get that little adapter. So for $45, then you can charge your car in like 6 to 8 hours, which is fine, right? Because again, you're plugging in every night. And so basically, you just have to get one of those little outlets installed in your garage. For us at our house, it cost about $1,000.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
I would have thought it would have been more, like $5,000 or something.
You just had to run that electrical from the panel to the garage. And then there's also something called a wall connector, which is like an actual thing you buy at $700, and that is to charge your car even faster. So my car with the mobile connector charges at 8 kilowatts, which again takes roughly 6 to 8 hours. The wall connector charges even faster, so it would be a little shorter charging time, but you don't really need to get it. It's kind of like an optional thing. It looks nice. It's like this nice glass, right? So it's like kind of optional, but yeah, charging is super simple. I spend less time charging than I would putting gas in my car. If you think,
absolutely.
If you're going to put gas in your car once a week or twice a week, you're sitting outside for 5 minutes, you go into pay, maybe you don't go into pay, but it takes roughly, let's say, 5 minutes. Me getting out of my car, I get out of my car, I plug in the car, I go inside, it takes like 10 seconds.
You go about your day.
You leave in the morning and you have a full charge, because people think, oh my god.
You could charge it overnight like you do with your phone.
Yeah, it's super simple. But people think, they're like, oh, you'd have to charge. You have to go and charge. It's going to take forever. And it's like, no. On a daily basis, you leave home with a full charge because you plug in every night. When you do have to go on a road trip and charge, yes, it takes a little more time than you would filling up gas. But it's not as bad as you think, right? Think about it like this. A long-range Model 3 goes about 550 kilometers on a charge. If you're driving 550 kilometers, you're going to stop. You're going to stop to use the bathroom. You're going to stop to get something to eat. At a supercharger, you can charge about 0 to 80% of that 550 kilometers in 30 minutes.
Fuck.
Right? So if you're using the bathroom, going to get something to eat after driving 500 kilometers, you stop for 30 minutes. What's 80% of 550? My math's terrible.
That's okay, man. I can't do that off the top of my head either.
440 kilometers, right? So in 30 minutes, you charge 440 kilometers back into the battery and you're off again. 440 kilometers. Like, roughly, I'd say if I was on a road
just while you were going to take a piss.
Yeah. After 440 kilometers, I'd probably need to use the bathroom or get something to eat. It's a natural time to stop almost. And the chargers are everywhere. There's nowhere you can't go because of charging, right?
That was actually going to be my next question, but you answered that.
There's not really anywhere you can't go without charging. When I go into my car right now, if I say, navigate to Florida, it'll literally map out the entire drive. It'll say stop in Niagara Falls for 10 minutes. Stop here for 14 minutes. Like, it maps out the entire trip.
Like, it'll show the on routes along the way.
Literally the entire thing, right? So there's no guesswork, and it doesn't add as much time to your trip as you would think, right? So, like, Here, I'll do the math. I think roughly, like, if you're doing a trip from, let's say Toronto to Florida or Pickering to Florida, if you're going Pickering to Florida...
That's like a 2-day drive. I've done that before.
Yeah, I mean, it's like roughly a couple days. Florida Mall, let's say. You're leaving from home. You've got a nice charge. It'll probably take you... If you were doing that drive normally, it would probably take you 23 hours, like a straight shot. Charging, it would probably take you like an extra 2 hours. Because again, you're not stopping for like long times. You're literally just stopping for like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there.
Food, bathroom, yeah.
Yeah, so this trip from Toronto to Florida, I just did put it all in the app. There'd be 22 hours of driving and 3 hours of charging. So for 22 hours of driving, like...
Yeah.
Stopping for 3 hours along that way for a bite to eat... Like, it's nothing.
Yeah, no.
It's nothing, right?
That almost happens every drive.
It's so much cheaper, even at a supercharger, right? So at home, it's really cheap. Like, it's just the cost of electricity, which, again, to charge a long-range Model 3 would probably cost you $8. At a supercharger, if you're on a road trip, it probably costs you, like, $15, $20, somewhere between there. But still, $15 to $20 versus, what? For BMW. Like, let's compare it to BMW, because a BMW is more on the same class as Tesla. A BMW would use premium fuel, too. So you're talking about... $100.
That's not cheap at all.
No, it's not cheap at all. Like, I know people who drive a Mustang, drive a BMW, their tank is $100. It's $100 a tank. So even comparing to charging at home, you're saving like $90 per tank. Comparing to charging at a charger, you're saving like $80 per tank.
The convenience and, like you said, from the financial perspective, it's a win-win if you have that.
It's almost a no-brainer.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, it seems pretty crazy. Like, Tesla's done a really good job building up their network. They've built batteries that can charge quickly, that have long enough range. It's pretty cool. I mean, people don't realize. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that people just don't realize that it's there, and people don't realize the cost effectiveness of it. They're like, oh my god, I can never afford a Tesla. But if you are driving a lot and you're buying a new car, you have to look at it and you have to do the math, because again, if you're spending $200 a month on gas or $300 a month on gas, and you're going to have a car payment, like, would it work out to be the same with a Tesla?
It probably would.
It would probably work out to be really close to the same. And then again, factor in no oil changes, a lot less brake work, because in a Tesla, the motors, not the brakes, but the motors regeneratively brake when you're driving. Yeah. So when you take your foot off the pedal, the car automatically slows down as though it's braking. That's not like an autonomous driving thing. That's just like... That's how the motors work. So as soon as you take your foot off the pedal, the motors charge the battery regeneratively and slow down the vehicle. So you're not...
That's incredibly intuitive for the vehicle to just understand.
Yeah. It's like... It almost makes sense. Like, why should you have to press the brake? If you don't want to be going, then why... Like, to have two pedals, it almost doesn't make sense. So you still have a brake pedal in the Tesla, obviously, but the only time you use the brakes is if you have to slam on the brakes for something. Otherwise, you kind of just gradually take your foot off the pedal, and the car slows right to a stop. And so you're not using your brakes, you're not doing oil changes, you don't have to pay for gas. There's way less things that break down in an electric car, because really all the parts it's a battery and a motor, or two motors. And in a gas car, you have this engine that has all these different parts that can break. You have all these different fuel lines. There's just so much stuff that can go wrong. As we're in a Tesla, I'll
tell you, man, my brake pads weren't cheap. I think I had to get them changed like 3 months ago. They were like $1,000, man. They were so much money. So when I think about that and saving on those payments, like, sometimes people have to make those kind of adjustments so many times during the year. You're right. You could save a lot of money. You might as well just put that all
it's like
into a car like that.
Not everyone likes a Tesla, like, right? Like, maybe some people just don't like the look and don't like this part of it.
I personally really like them. I think they got a nice, sleek...
Yeah, I like it too. Trust me, I like it too. But I just mean, like, from the perspective of, you hate Elon, you hate Tesla, that's fine. If you hate Tesla, that's fine. But there's other EVs out there now. Maybe they're not as inexpensive, or maybe they...
Let's get a little bit closer to the mic, that's right.
Yeah, maybe they're, not as inexpensive, they don't have enough range, but there's other EVs that exist. So when you're looking at a new car, I would always just say, at least do some investigative work, like, really crunch the numbers of how much are you spending on your gas and your maintenance, and then do that math and see, like, how much is that up to every month? Is it adding up to $100? Is it adding up to $400? Because if it's adding up to $400, And there's a good chance that, buying a Tesla would be on par or buying an EV, not just a Tesla, but buying an EV would be, on par or less expensive than a gas vehicle. And also, when you don't have to pay for those expenses, it almost encourages you to drive more. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you might think, I would go to this person's place. I would go see my friend out in the other side of town.
But I'll have to pay this much.
But then I'm going to have to fill up a full tank of gas, this, that. With a Tesla, it's like, okay, it's not going to cost me anything in gas. The car's going to drive itself on the highway the whole way.
There's no crutch.
There's just no... Like, driving is just way more enjoyable. So as where with my car now, I've driven 60,000 kilometers in 16 months. If I had a regular car, I probably wouldn't have driven half of that because it's not fun to drive.
So many problems could arise.
It's more expensive. So it's like, it gives you more freedom to want to drive more. It's fun to drive. It's quick. It drives itself. There's just so many.
I saw that video of Matt, and I assume he was with you. He wasn't like, I don't think he showed you in the camera, but he was like, yo, I'm going to test out the whatever.
Model 3 Performance.
Yeah, that was insane.
Model 3 Performance, and it was so fast. I got to drive a Model S Plaid the other day, which is the fastest production car in the world. It goes 0 to 100 in 1.9 seconds.
Damn.
And it is just mind-bending. Like, it's hard to explain how quick of a car it is. But yeah, like, there's really just no downside. Electric cars are the fastest cars. They're the cheapest cars to maintain. And they're super technologically advanced when it comes to Tesla specifically. They're just awesome. I can't say enough.
So I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Yeah.
About Elon Musk. Not really about Tesla, but more about him. So what are your thoughts? I kind of brought this up at the beginning of the episode. So what are your thoughts on the news that him and Tom Cruise and the SpaceX program, they're going to be shooting a movie in space with NASA?
I think that's really awesome. I think it's important for people to be excited about space. I mean, I feel like in the, 20, 30 years ago when there was all this stuff happening with the space program and, actually it's even more than that. Like, I think, when was the moon landing? Like 50 years ago?
I think it was like a little over 50 years ago.
I think it was the 50th anniversary last year or the year before. So, like, we're talking about 50 years since, humans went to the moon. That is crazy. Look how far we've come. We have the power of that original NASA ship. We have that in our phones now. But we've never gone back to the moon. And the reason is because the public opinion right? This is a lot of government money. The public opinion just kind of hasn't favored it. Oh, well, people don't really want their tax money being spent on that. Well, this is where SpaceX comes in, and the way they're going to, make all of this achievable is by lowering the cost of, doing these launches and going to orbit. Because when NASA's just doing this one-off project, things are really expensive, right? You're not doing it often. You're doing it once, one time, not reusable. It's just too expensive. And so it almost makes sense that taxpayers wouldn't want their money being spent on programs like this. And I'm almost in the same boat. I'm like, okay, I don't care. Like, I don't want all my money being spent on the moon. But what SpaceX is doing is a little different. They're kind of giving private companies the option to get their payload to orbit. So they have this thing called the Falcon 9 rocket. It has launched, I want to say, like, they reuse them. So, right, SpaceX built reusable rockets. So as before, you'd launch a rocket once and that would be it. You've spent, millions and millions of dollars building a rocket and it's done. SpaceX rockets are reusable, so they can go to orbit multiple times, and that brings the cost of getting payload to orbit way down. So it kind of, almost encourages other companies to be like, oh, we can do things. Space is now an area where we can operate because getting there is cheaper. And so NASA, in the same way, is kind of seeing like, okay, wait a second. We have these private companies that are kind of working to advance, space and space transportation and, space technology. And so what SpaceX is doing with projects like this thing you're talking about with Tom Cruise, is like, they're going to make kids and people kind of care about space again. They're going to see this awesome movie that was filmed in space and people are going to be like, I want to do that, or I want to live in a world where, like, we have people on the moon, or where, civilization is expanding. And
colonization and all that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think that that's like an important step, is to, bring about public engagement and public support for projects like these. So having them film a movie with a popular actor in space is exactly the kind of
Who
thing.
better than Tom Cruise?
Yeah, of course, right? You've got this guy in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely, there obviously could have been some other candidates, but I think with him, he's kind of like a wacky dude in terms of like, he does his own stunts. I think it's really going to be interesting to see him like float around with zero G. And
no, I think that'll be awesome. And again, it'll just encourage people. Like, even they did a launch a couple months ago called Inspiration 4, and they raised money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. They launched 4 kind of like, average, everyday people into space. One of them was a cancer survivor who went to St. Jude. And they launched 4 of these people.
That's incredible.
They orbited Earth for 3 days. Actually, what's cool about this is they went further than the space station. So this is the furthest humans have been from Earth in a long, long time, because they went further than the orbit of the space station. So, having them do that, and they were like FaceTiming the kids at St. Jude's Children's Hospital while they were in space, and just showing people that, that is possible. And it's just going to bring a whole new generation of kids who not only are inspired about space, but also who are, encouraged to make change there, and who are going to want to be the next engineer who works at SpaceX or works at Blue Origin or any of these companies that are working to, go to orbit. So I think it's really important, and I think that the movie, it'll be a good step in helping that goal.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think not only from the entertainment perspective, but I think seeing that growth of just how far we've come in space, I agree. I think it's going to inspire a lot of the youth. So I think that's going to be it for the Tesla questions. Now we're going to transition to climate change. Now I just want to preface this. I'm speaking as somebody who really doesn't know much about climate change, so I'm going to let Noah educate me a little bit today.
I'll say too, like, I'm not like a climate change expert. I'm not claiming to be, like, I'm not in school for that, like, or I'm not taking any programs or classes on it yet. But I've done a lot of research, and I'm interested in it. Obviously, someone being a huge fan of Tesla and sustainable transportation, I'm definitely interested in it, but I'm not like an expert either. So if I say something wrong, like, don't take me for at my word on everything. Like, do some of your own research too. A lot of this is going to be my opinion with the facts that I have. So, preface what I say with that.
Yeah, so I didn't mean to make you sound like
the expert,
the expert, but you certainly do know, a fair amount. All right, so before we get into climate change, let's address the elephant in the room that a lot of people probably notice. We're gonna try these out. These are the new Tim Biebs here in Canada.
Yeah, what are the flavors called again? Doesn't say on the package. We gotta break it down.
Didn't they just drop today?
Yeah, they just came out today. There was like a whole merch collection, like.
Yeah, they had like the little fanny pack. I saw.
They really went all in with these. All right, so the different flavors that they've got are. What are they here? They've got chocolate white fudge, sour cream chocolate chip, and birthday cake waffle.
The first one sounded really, really good.
Birthday cake waffle and chocolate white fudge sound freaking good.
Birthday cake waffle.
Let's see.
I hope I get that one first.
Yeah. Okay. I'm assuming that's the sour cream one.
Sour cream might be good, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go for the sour cream one first.
Ooh. I think I see the birthday cake. I think it's right at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. So sour cream fudge. What's called sour cream chocolate? I'm trying.
All right. That's really good. Yeah, that was for sure birthday cake.
I don't know. The sour cream chocolate one is not
underwhelming.
It's a little underwhelming. Maybe I was expecting more.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
This one's the birthday cake one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try the birthday cake. Birthday cake waffle.
Let's try chocolate.
That one's the...
Or chocolate.
Chocolate white fudge.
Chocolate white fudge.
ASMR. Some ASMR. Okay, the birthday cake waffle's pretty good.
Honestly, the chocolate one just tastes like a normal chocolate tidbit. Overall, though, the birthday cake is solid. That's probably my favorite. Actually, here, let me try this one. I haven't tried this one yet.
That ain't it.
That ain't it?
No, the sour cream one's not good.
I agree.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not that bad. I actually
I'm not
think
a
I
huge
prefer it over the
chocolate
chocolate.
They're all just Timbits.
Yeah, yeah, they're all just Timbits with some little flakes.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. It's all just Timbits with some little flakes on them. So we all got conned into the.
We got scammed. I'm just kidding.
Blitz. We all just wanted the bead balls.
That's a soundbite. Okay. So, let's get into some climate change, shall we?
Bead balls aside.
Yes, Beeb's balls aside. Those are decent Timbits overall.
Yeah.
Kind of underwhelming. Let's kick it off here. So, do you believe we will see a substantial improvement in our climate within the next 20 years? Like a substantial, something to be proud of?
So, I do. I don't know. See, the thing is with climate change is it's a really global thing, right? It's not like, if Canada fully went renewable today, like we went zero emissions today. We were net zero carbon emissions. If the rest of the world doesn't do their part, then climate change as a whole is still, the Earth will still be on the track for like warming of, the warming would pretty much be the same essentially, right? So I think that we will see an improvement in certain countries' efforts towards net zero emissions. I think that technology is going to keep getting better and give people options to choose between a green product and a less green product. And as soon as those two options become, price, they have parity in price, or they get to the same level of effectiveness, then people aren't going to use them less environmentally friendly product or service just to spite the world. If you can make a green product or green service that is as good as the less green product, people will use it, or as good or better. So I think that the key is that we just need. It's all good. We just need to continue to innovate and drive people towards greener products, greener services, and in a way not give people the option. Because again, if we get to the point where the product or service is better, then people won't choose the less environmentally friendly option. For me, that's where we're at with Tesla. We're still a little bit off on the cost perspective of it.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of like drivability,
performance
and range, it's at the point where EVs are mainstream now, right? We just need to get the price down a little bit more, and I think we're going to do that. But yeah, so to answer the question, I think, will the world meet great climate success? No.
You don't think so?
No. Will certain countries meet great climate success and do an amazing job in reducing their emissions? Yes.
Oh, so you don't think Canada will?
No, I think Canada will be one of the ones that does. I think the U.S. will be one of the ones that does. But I think that you have a lot of developing countries, right now.
That's true. Yeah.
That use, like, they're literally burning, like, wood or burning dung for fuel.
Damn.
Right? Okay, so those are, like, the worst things you could possibly be doing for fuel. Those are the most detrimental to the environment. So, I mean, I think we'll see those countries maybe get weaned off of that slightly. But for a developing country, it's not about, they don't care about climate change. They care about being able to eat.
Yeah.
They care about being able to have energy at all. So for us, we have the luxury in a way of being able to start tackling these issues. Other countries don't. So I think we will tackle those issues. I think by what year did you say? 2050.
I just said 20 years.
Okay, so by 2040, I think
yeah.
Every vehicle on the road will probably be electric, or the vast majority, maybe 80-90% will be electric. I think home energy storage, solar, I think that'll be advanced a lot. I think more people will have solar panels or solar roofs and generate their own electricity. So yeah, I think we're moving in a good direction in Canada. I don't know about the world. I don't know if the world is going to be, if we'll be able to say
wishful thinking possibly.
Great change. Like, there'll be change, but will it be like global, everybody, really, really big decisive change that I think a lot of environmentalists want. I don't think so. I think in certain countries, yes. I think in other countries, no.
So, what do you think it will take to make people, change? Or sorry, what do you think it will take to make people take climate change seriously enough to the point where they're eliminating bad habits like wasting water, using regular light bulbs, leaving our fully charged phones and computers still plugged into the wall, or even make greater changes like switching, like you did, to a more fuel efficient vehicle or like a complete electric car?
Yeah, I think the key is like people don't like to change. Okay, like truthfully, people are just going to do what's most convenient for them. That's just how we are in the West, in Europe and North America. They don't like change. They're going to do what's most convenient. So the way that you can get people to use greener products and make greener decisions and just generally make decisions that will benefit the environment is to make it the best option for them, right? So I don't necessarily think you need to punish people, and when I say punish people, I mean, charge them a tax for everything, mm-hmm. But I think what you need to do is just make it so that is the greatest option that people have, right? So buying an electric car should be what people want to do. It should be the no-brainer move. And the way we do that is by, continuing to talk about the importance of the environment and, stressing that. Because truthfully, I don't think people hate the environment. I don't think people do things to spite the environment or because they don't care. I think it's just not at the top of the list for everybody, right?
Yeah, in terms of priorities and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right? Even here in the West where we're like richer and, we have more money and more wealth and everything like that, people still, it's just not the biggest priority because until it directly affects us, people, they're just not going to change. So, like, again, the way you have to do things is just make it the best option. Make it so that an electric car is the best option. Make it so that having solar on your home.
So, yeah, kind of just capping off the climate change.
Yeah, I mean, like, basically what I said, right? The whole thing for me is that I think the best way to advance climate change is to empower private companies. I think the demand for, climate action is there. People want to, make greener lifestyle choices and, lower their carbon footprint and lower their emissions. So if the demand is there, which it is, the best way to let people do that is to give, private companies the ability to create products, because the government isn't great at doing things. So if the government says, tomorrow everything has to be 100% zero emissions, whatever, we're not ready for that. We need the products and services to account for it. So we just need to let the free market kind of work its way, and we're gonna get there. And we're already seeing it, right? Like I said, Tesla is getting to the point where it's becoming mainstream. Electric vehicles are becoming mainstream because they made such a great product that's compelling and that people want to buy. And so the same thing is going to happen with solar. The same thing is going to happen with all these different, products and services. And that's what's going to, propel us into the next age. And then also I think that there is some level of adaptation that, people are just going to have to live with. I mean, climate change can't be really stopped. And so in some ways, humans are going to have to adapt. We've adapted all throughout history. Human beings have adapted, moved. And so the same thing is going to happen. Is there going to be crises that happen? Yes. Are people going to die? Like, there will be people who die from, events that may or may not have happened if the climate situation wasn't as bad, or like air pollution. So yeah, but everything in life is kind of like this, you take some, you give some. Nothing is like the perfect decision where everything's perfect, right? So if all of a sudden tomorrow you said all this government intervention needs to happen to deal with the climate crisis, then there would be ill effects of that, the same way that there's ill effects of kind of letting it play out in the free market and letting those solutions come about. So I think it's a tough problem to solve, but I think that there's enough public pressure now that the free market, private companies are going to come up with solutions for people that will, drive us as a whole to be greener and to lower emissions and reduce our carbon footprint. So that's where my head's kind of at on climate change.
I think it's a very interesting take.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of give you some, not really rapid fire questions, but some quick random questions here. just because we are running out of time a little bit.
Yeah.
So, real quick, growing up here in Canada, what made you want to become a Tampa Bay Lightning fan? Because I know you're obviously a big fan of them, probably the biggest fan I've seen of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay, so this is a real quick story. So there's two things. First video game I played, first NHL video game I ever played was NHL 06 on the GameCube. And Vinny LeCavalier was on the cover. He was the captain of the Lightning when they won the Cup in 04. And so this was the first game after they won the Cup because there was a lockout season. So it was NHL 04 and then NHL 06. So NHL 06, Vinny LeCavalier was on the cover holding up the Cup. At this point, I'm like 4 or 5 years old. So I don't really, that's kind of one of my first introductions to hockey. And playing that game, every time you turn it on, you'd have LeCavalier like coming down the ice on a breakaway.
In the intro.
Right, doing some sick moves. So that's one thing. And then my next door neighbor, who was a bit older than me, maybe like 6, 7 years older than me, we would always play road hockey outside. And I kind of looked up to him, like a big brother kind of figure. And so we would always play road hockey outside. He was a big Lightning fan. So I think the combination of the video game and then my next door neighbor, big brother figure, kind of being that Lightning fan as well, is what drove me to be a Lightning fan. And then when I went to Tampa for the first time to watch a game, myself, my mom, and my brother got chosen as the family of the game.
Really?
So we got
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so we got to go under, in the players' dressing room. We got to meet a bunch of players, sit on the bench during warm-up. I remember I got in, a water bottle fight with, one of the players on the team. So that was... Those three things are kind of, what lined it up to be,
especially that experience. That would definitely...
100%. That'll make you a fan for life, no doubt, right? So... And I was super lucky enough to be able to go and watch the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah.
And be there to see them win the Cup in Tampa against Montreal a few months ago. And so that was,
so you went to Tampa again, because I'm going to ask you, my next question, I'm going to ask you about your experience flying there the first time and being there on your own.
Yeah, going there the first time was when I was so young, so I don't really remember. Besides the fact that I got chosen as the family of the night and all that.
But didn't you go in high school?
So I went in high school on my own. I flew down just to watch a couple playoff games. I've gone 3 times now actually. I went once when they played the Devils was the first time. I want to say 2017 maybe. They beat them 2 games in the first round. I watched both those games. The next year, I went when they played Columbus, and some people remember how that went. They got swept in the first round. That was the year where they were looking unstoppable. And so I went for those 2 games. They lost both. It was super sad. And then the third time I went was just this past, when was it? April, May? I don't know. This past Stanley Cup Final. I got lucky enough to get a ticket to Game 5, which was the game where Tampa ended up winning the Cup. I went down there. Met up with some friends actually that I know down there. Went to the game with them. Being in an arena where your team wins the Stanley Cup on home ice is
confetti everywhere. People freaking out.
It's like goosebumps, right? You watch this team. They won the Cup in 2004. At that point, I wasn't really watching hockey. I didn't see them lift the Cup then. But I've watched this team since I was 6, 7 years old. And through a lot of different phases where they sucked. And I remember be watching a game and it would be Leafs versus Tampa and it would be the basement battle. That's what TSN would call it because they were both the worst teams in the NHL. So to come,
basement battle.
So to come from that to now finally getting to see them win a cup, and they won the cup last year too. Yeah. But being there in person and seeing Stamkos,
it's a different feeling.
And skate around the ice with it is just it's just special. You can't even. Yeah, it's hard to explain.
And you answered my next question because I was literally going to ask you, what did you do when you won the Stanley Cup? When they won the Stanley Cup?
It was just awesome. Like I said, getting to see them, all the players go around the ice with it, see them take the picture, and also, COVID sucks. Okay, and being in an environment where everybody's locked down and everything for so long, it's just super. As someone who likes to go out and be social, it is so depressing. COVID, lockdown, this, that. So being able to go to Florida and be in a stadium or arena with 22 other thousand people cheering for the same team, there's not a lot in life where everybody's on the same page and everybody is kind of in it for the same goal. And so to have spaces like a movie or to have space like a hockey game or a sporting event where everybody's there for the same purpose is something really special, and I think that we lost that over COVID. So it's really nice to be able to go to those events again. And I mean, there's literally nothing better, again, than being in a stadium where it's a home game. So, like, everybody there is... You just get goosebumps, right? Like, I've watched Stamkos play hockey since I was a kid, and, you know, getting to see him raise the cup, and all these guys raise the cup is just, like... You just can't help but smile. Hopefully the Leafs have the same thing, because I know lots of Leafs fans out here, and I like the Leafs.
Hey everybody, I do want to apologize for cutting the episode a little bit short. The camera actually died towards the end, and I still had more questions to ask Noah, but he did have somewhere to be, which is totally fine. We will have him back at some point on in the future, probably with another guest at the same time, so that'll be a great conversation. And overall, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. I thought it was a great conversation, and I look forward to having Noah back on here. And yes, so I will see you on episode 14.